everyone, thank you for joining me today for our Read Aloud. Please listen very carefully because I do have comprehension questions for you at the end of our story, so I really want you paying attention. And when our Read Aloud ends, make sure you go grab a grown-up or somebody that you're with that can listen to you and your answers as well. Or maybe they can sit and listen to the story with you so they know what the answers are going to be too. Our story we're going to read today is Little Mouse Finds a Friend. And it is written by Gabby Goldsack and illustrated by Emma Leach. And so I have some questions about this front cover for you. First of all, Little Mouse Finds a Friend. If we look at our illustration on the front, what do you think this could be about? Well, we see a mouse, and it's winter outside, and it might be cold. Is kind of what I'm seeing. And it looks like, oh, the mouse is trying to warm up by the fire he has or she has. Also, my question for you is, it says written by Gabby Goldsack. What does she do? Is she the person that writes the story and the words for us, or is she the one who draws the pictures? Yep, it says written by, so she's the one doing the words, which means she is our author. Good job for listening. Then it says illustrated by Emma Leach. What does Emma do for our story? She draws our pictures. Nice job. All right, let's get started with our story. Here we go. So we have Little Mouse Finds a Friend. One winter, Foxglove Farm was covered in a soft blanket of snow. Little Mouse sat in the barn and shivered. He was cold and hungry. He knew there were tasty scraps and a warm fire in the farmhouse, but he didn't dare go in there. Entering the farmhouse was deadly business. First, you had to get past the huge farm dog. Now, if we look at our illustration, he doesn't look so scary, does he? We'll find out. His ferocious bark and snarling teeth were enough to scare the bravest of mice. Then there was the farmer's wife. It was said that she once cut off a mouse's tail with a carving knife. But worst of all was what do you think's worse than the dog and the farmer's wife? The cat. She was terrifying. She had dagger-like fangs and claws as sharp as needles. Her large amber eyes saw everything, and her small ears missed nothing. She could hiss like a snake and snarl like a tiger. Little Mouse had heard that the cat could creep up on you in total silence and then pounce with deadly speed. The mere thought of the cat made Little Mouse quake with fear. What does it mean to quake with fear? What do you think? To shake, to shiver with fear. The days passed and Little Mouse became more and more hungry. Each day he roamed the farm in search of food, but there was little to be found. The horse guarded his oats. The chickens chased him away from their grain. The cow stomped their feet every time he tried to share their morning feed, and the pigs wouldn't even let him share the kitchen scraps. What do you think Little Mouse is going to do? He needs to eat. By midwinter, Little Mouse was so hungry that he made a big decision. He was going to creep into the farmhouse and find something to eat. That night, Little Mouse waited until the dog was asleep in his kennel and the farmer and his wife were snoring in their bed. Then he crept across the farmhouse and peered through the window. What he saw inside made him squeak with terror. The cat was leaping up and down and spinning wildly. Her fur was standing on end, and her eyes glinted dangerously. It was a terrifying sight. Little Mouse was about to scamper away when the cat howled and flopped to the ground. Meow. The sound made Little Mouse stop and take another look. It was only then that he noticed something that gave him the courage to sneak in through the cat flap for a closer look. What does it mean? Little Mouse was about to scamper away. What does scamper mean? What do you think? To run away? The cat's right paw was stuck in a hole in the floorboards. As Little Mouse watched, the cat tried to tug her paw free, but she only managed to hurt herself. Ouch, said the cat. Her amber eyes glinted with pain. Little Mouse was very scared, but he was also very kind. He didn't like to see anything in pain, so he crept forward to see if he could help. The cat's ears twitched. Who goes there? She hissed. Only me, squeaked Little Mouse bravely. Can I help you? The cat swished her tail and sighed. My paw is trapped, but I don't suppose a little fellow like you can help. I'll just have to wait until the farmer's wife comes down in the morning. She began to lick her trapped paw so sadly that Little Mouse felt quite sorry for her. I can help, he declared bravely. And before he could change his mind, Little Mouse dashed forward and began nibbling at the wood surrounding the cat's trapped paw. You think Little Mouse is going to be able to help? He's trying to, but do you think it's going to work? We'll have to see. If we look at our illustrations, it did work. Little Mouse tried to ignore the cat's glittering eyes, and he gnawed away. He tried not to think about her glistening fangs and sharp claws. He worked quickly, and soon the cat's paw was free. Thank you, purred the cat. She licked her sore paw and arched her back with delight. Her eyes glowed. Little Mouse tried to flee, but the cat was too fast. She pounced and trapped Little Mouse's tail beneath her paw. What's going to happen? Hey, don't run away, she purred. I'm not going to hurt you. Little Mouse gulped and looked up into her eyes. What he saw surprised him. Her eyes weren't scary at all. They were kind and playful. Little Mouse smiled up at the cat. Yum! The cat smiled back. Why don't you come and warm up by the fire, she asked. I can even find you some scraps of cheese if you'd like. Oh, yes, please, squealed Little Mouse. I am starving. So, did the cat hurt the mouse? How is she trying to help the mouse? Good job. After Little Mouse had eaten so much that he groaned with pleasure, he sat beside the warm fire with the cat. By sunrise, Little Mouse and the cat were the very best of friends. Little Mouse had been wrong. The cat wasn't at all frightening. She was the friendliest cat any mouse could wish to meet. Unfortunately, the farmer's wife didn't share this view on mice. She screamed and screamed and screamed. Humans are frightened of mice, explained the cat. That's why they make such a fuss. Ooh, what does it mean, frightened? What's the word frighten mean? It says humans are frightened of mice. What does that mean? Scared. But what about the farmer's wife cutting off our tails with a carving knife? Asked Little Mouse. Oh, that's just a silly story, laughed the cat. But I think it's probably safer if you only come into the farmhouse when everyone else has gone to bed, the cat said, smiling. From that day on, Little Mouse never went hungry. Every day the cat would leave little scraps of cheese inside his mouse hole in the barn. And every night, when everyone else was asleep, Little Mouse would creep into the farmhouse and warm himself up beside the fire with his new best friend. The end. Thank you for joining me for our Read Aloud. Now I have a few questions for you. First of all, in our story, Little Mouse finds a friend. Can you tell someone what happens at the beginning of the story, the middle of the story, and at the end of the story? And pause my video so you can do that. I want you to share with somebody what happens at the beginning of the story, the middle of our story, and the end of our story. Once you've shared that, unpause our video and come back for our next set of questions. I just have 2 more for you about this story. Okay, my next question for you is, we heard that the dog was huge and his ferocious bark and snarling teeth were enough to scare the bravest of mice. And we heard that the cat was terrifying. She had dagger-like fangs and claws sharp as needles. And then we also heard that the farmer's wife might cut their tails off with a carving knife. Now, my question for you is, we found out about the cat, and is the cat as ferocious and terrifying as the beginning of the story made it seem? No, the cat's very kind, isn't she? But we never found out really about the dog. What do we think about the dog? Do we really think, if we look at our illustration and think he has a ferocious bark and snarling teeth, do you think our dog is mean or scary in this story? And why do you think that? If you need to, go ahead and pause my video. Okay, and then my last thing, my last question for you is, what was the kind act that the mouse did for the cat in our story? What was the kind thing the mouse did for the cat in our story? And once you share that, then I want you to share what was the kind thing that the cat did for the mouse in the story. And after you shared your answers for those questions, we are done with our Read Aloud. Thank you for listening to me today. I miss you, kindergarten. I hope to see you very soon. Have a wonderful day. Bye, you guys.